All right, Robby, what's on your radar today?
Well, Brianna, Twitter CEO Elon Musk is facing a barrage of media criticism for acquiescing to demands from the Turkish government to censor content on the site. Now, the acts of censorship took place last week, just days before the country's presidential election. Unsurprisingly, the restricted accounts had expressed criticism of autocratic Turkish leader Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Now, given that Musk has promised to make Twitter a platform for free speech, indeed, his stated rationale for buying the site in the first place was to make it more protective of political expression, his kowtowing to Erdogan has struck many commentators as hypocritical. Quote, Elon Musk doesn't care about free speech, declared the New Republic. NBA star Enes Kanter Freedom, a Turkish dissident who has frequently criticized the Erdogan regime, said, I don't want to hear about Elon Musk talking about free speech ever again. My colleague at Reason Magazine, Elizabeth Nolan Brown, also chided Musk for, quote, making a dictator's job easier. And Wikipedia founder Jimmy Wales tweeted that treating freedom of speech as a principle rather than a slogan would have meant fighting back harder. Now, it's absolutely true that there's a certain incoherence to Musk's approach. Fair enough. He croons about free speech while also pledging to follow applicable local laws. He has said he is willing to lose money on Twitter if it means protecting free speech, but he has also said that Twitter will not try to impose its values, free speech one assumes, on the rest of the world. Most countries, unfortunately, do not have free speech protections that are as robust as the U.S.'s First Amendment. Even in the U.S., social media companies have faced tremendous pressure from federal government agencies to censor speech. Musk is well aware of this, having greenlit the Twitter files in the first place. Perhaps he should have anticipated that his various pledges, allow free speech, obey the law, be willing to lose money, don't impose values, would swiftly come into conflict. But some of this criticism seems to suggest that Musk's decision to heed Turkey is some new low for social media platforms. Ryan Mack, a tech reporter for the New York Times, frets that Musk has provided, quote, a blueprint for repressive governments everywhere. Quote, if Twitter doesn't censor the content you want, simply threaten to cut off the service, says Mack, summarizing the aforementioned blueprint. Its owner just put it in writing. Okay, but this blueprint already exists. Musk is not remotely the first social media CEO to begrudgingly accede to an authoritarian government's demands. In 2007, a Turkish court ordered the country's internet service provider to take down YouTube over videos that mocked Turkey's founder, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. YouTube complied within hours, removing the videos in order to restore YouTube access to the citizens of Turkey. In subsequent years, Turkey's government used similar threats to force Facebook, Periscope, and yes, Twitter, to comply with demands for censorship. That was pre-Elon Musk. It's true that Wikipedia fought back against Turkey's demands for censorship, resulting in the site not being available in Turkey at all from 2017 to 2019. And it's not just Turkey, of course. Social media companies have had to deal with demands for content takedowns all over the globe. During the 2000s, the version of Google that was available in China included all sorts of compromises with the Chinese Communist Party's tyranny. Eventually, Google stopped complying, so it got the boot. In 2018, Google had plans to relaunch its censored search engine in China, but when those details leaked, the company faced so much criticism in the U.S. that it actually had to abandon course. The point is, these are not always easy calls. When a repressive government orders a private company to restrict speech, it is the government, not the company, that has decided to violate the human rights of its citizens. The companies should resist wherever they can, but resisting to the point at which the government shuts down their service is not a moral requirement, nor is it a course of action that, to my mind, obviously maximizes freedom. It's perfectly legitimate to think that a CCP-approved version of Google, while far from ideal, is better for the people of China than no Google at all. In either case, the villain is the CCP, not Google. Which brings me back to Musk and Turkey. Twitter claims that it has fought Erdogan's takedown request to the maximally practical extent. Quote, we were in negotiations with the Turkish government throughout last week who made clear to us Twitter was the only social media service not complying in full with existing court orders. This is according to a spokesperson for Twitter. The quote continues, we received what we believe to be a final threat to throttle the service after several such warnings, and so in order to keep Twitter available over the election weekend, took action on 4 accounts and 409 tweets identified by court order. The spokesperson noted that the company will continue to fight the demands in court and subsequently released the written order for all the world to see. Refusing to comply at that point would have meant a total Twitter outage in Turkey on the eve of its election. This is a development that should make everyone very angry with the Turkish government. But Musk is not the correct object of scorn, though obviously fair to note he has not yet delivered on his promise of a free speech platform. The situation illustrates the dangers of letting autocrats control market access, Will Duffield of the Cato Institute told me yesterday. The best solution is to treat such demands as non-tariff barriers to trade. Our friends and allies should not demand that American firms neuter their products in accordance with local whims. Indeed. So obviously we talked about this, Brianna, yesterday with Michael Schellenberger, who made a similar point, and I looked into it a little further. And I just wanted to give our audience a look at the volume of takedown requests that not just Elon, not just Twitter face from repressive governments. And I think these requests are bad. They're absolutely authoritarian. They violate your human right to free speech. That's a right that I think all people should have. But it is a right that is only enshrined into law to this degree in the U.S. So when a repressive government tells a company to do that, I think it's great if the company resists as much as it possibly can. But having the service shut off, to me, I don't think they should be morally obligated to do that, and I don't think that necessarily improves the climate for non-authoritarianism in the country.
Well, Schellenberger raised that point yesterday, and I told him yesterday that I think that there's an argument for it benefiting the people of Turkey or China or wherever else for social media companies to take the knee and provide some version of the product, even if it's a censored version of the product, rather than no product at all. But what I said to Schellenberger is that there is an argument for that. It's not at all clear to me. There is definitely a case to be made that if social media companies did go black in those countries, it would help to expose the doctrinaire reality of the governments that are in place there, the authoritarian reality of the governments that are in place there, and that countries being able to say we still have Google, we still have Twitter, we still have the social media accounts that most of the rest of the world are using, disguises that in some way. So it's not clear to me. I think there's a good argument on both sides of this.
Isn't it a little bit like blocking trade with a country and saying, well, the price of everything's going to go up for them, and they'll realize their country's policies are bad or something, which never seems to work?
Well, I think that's very different, because I think that blocking food and basic services from a country that can cause people to starve and die is a much higher ethical bar than not providing Twitter. Something that only, 3% of Americans are even on.
Not providing Google?
Well, we're talking about Twitter.
Okay.
So that's one part of it. But the main part of it is that, as I said yesterday, people who are arguing that Elon Musk is operating Twitter at a lower standard than other companies are wrong, flat out. But that's not why he's being accused of hypocrisy. He's being accused of hypocrisy because he has and continues to hold himself out as the owner of a site that is not equal to the other websites, under the same constraints as the other websites, and rising above those constraints, unlike those other websites. He is, in fact, doing the exact same thing as everybody else while holding himself ahead above everybody else. And so if he is continuing to say that he bought Twitter because he didn't care about money, because he values free speech as a principle, if people like Tucker Carlson come to Twitter, say, I'm going to host my show on Twitter because, quote, there aren't many platforms left that allow free speech. The last big one remaining in the world, the only one is Twitter, where we are now. Having a global framing of Twitter as a global paragon of free speech rights at the same time when it is clearly bending the knee to authoritarian regimes around the world, that is the problem. So I think it's perfectly reasonable for Elon Musk to say, look, my bad. I had no real sense of, I hadn't predicted into the future how coercive other governments were going to be about Twitter, how difficult it was going to be for me to hold the line on this as we entered other countries. And I was wrong about some of the representations I made about what Twitter could be, the same way that he has not followed those free speech principles in the United States of America either. As Michael Schellenberger noted yesterday, taking Kanye West off of the website for posting the swastika in the Star of David, which was not in violation.
We've criticized him for that numerous times.
Well, I think it's fair for me to say it. The reality is, if you're going to do a radar about how Elon Musk is being unfairly treated, I agree with you. The people who claim that he is doing worse than other websites, I don't think that's true. But Elon set a standard for himself that he was going to be better than other websites. At the same time, we're talking about Turkey. He has not fulfilled his free speech obligations in the United States of America in censoring Kanye West for posting symbols that I don't believe he should have posted, but which are not in violation of Twitter's protocol, censoring journalists because they were covering a story that he didn't like with the Elon Jets account. Like, we cannot memory hole that stuff.
I'm not memory holding it, and I have said that he's falling short. I said it today, and I've said it numerous times that he's falling short of his commitments. And also, as I said in the radar, some of the things he said are contradictory. He said he wants it to be a platform for free speech, but also we're going to follow local laws, and we're not going to try to impose Twitter's values on others. Well, but
so I think,
how does that all work?
So that's the
agree.
criticism, and I think that's fair criticism. I think Elon Musk has been hypocritical. I think that people can grow and change and have realizations, and that's fine, and people shouldn't hold them accountable forever for making mistakes. So if Elon Musk wants to say, I oversold, he's blamed people for the behaviors that they've taken with Twitter in the past, when he's now doing the exact same things, and said that they were horrible free speech suppressors and da-da-da. Well, I would be very happy to hear him say, you know what, sometimes these decisions are being made for financial reasons. Sometimes these decisions are being made because we're being strong-armed and we're having to make these ethical decisions about what the best course of action for people in other countries actually is. And I was wrong. Mea culpa. We can all move forward.
But what to make of, mainstream New York Times tech reporter so blinded by anti-Musk bias that he doesn't know that the Twitter, pre-Musk, and all these other companies have bowed down in the face of risking, rather than have the service shut down multiple times, acting like this is the first time this has ever happened.
Well, like I said, people who are acting like that's the first time that has
there were.
happened,
I pointed to some of them. Yeah.
Correct. Those people are wrong. The people who are saying Elon Musk said he was going to be better than those people, and he in fact is not, those people continue to be right.
Yeah, he said contradictory things. So because he said free speech, but we'll also follow, obviously, local laws. And
here's the thing about Elon Musk. He's just a guy. Guys can make mistakes, but apparently, when it comes to Elon Musk, there's this real resistance to the idea that, okay, he had a mulligan. Like, he made a mistake. It's not the end of the world.
What do you mean
he can still have done. There are people who, any criticism of Elon Musk, if you said you didn't like a shirt he was wearing one day, are framed as haters and people who are against him. Look, there are also a lot of people who are like, oh, I stubbed my toe, Elon Musk strikes again. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, I'll say it again. I'll say it three more times.
We've said it.
The people who did that are wrong. The people who did that are wrong. The people who did that are wrong. But at the end of the day, Elon Musk built his whole personality, the whole rationale that he presented for himself to the world for why he was buying Twitter was this kind of free speech absolutism. I didn't tell him to do that. Nobody forced him to do that. He could have just said, hey, I want to make some policy changes at Twitter. I'm going to buy Twitter. He's a businessman. He had the money. That's his right. And we wouldn't be having a lot of these conversations. And I do think, you're going to have people who are perhaps irrational and a little inflamed about Elon Musk when the man has claimed the mantle of being the champion of free speech in the United States of America, when he literally has never answered to why he censored journalists, not because he was pressured by the FBI, not because anybody made him, not any of that. He personally made the personal decision to censor journalists over the Elon Musk account. He shut down the Twitter files, which I very much agree was a deeply important journalistic enterprise because of a personal spat with Matt Taibbi, and then shut down Matt Taibbi's ability to post links and all these other kinds of things. That's the exact opposite of what he's representing himself to be. And that's why I think so many people are triggered about his hypocrisy, because it's just so acute.
All right, another debate on Elon's subject. We'll have more rising right after this.